Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It drops Mondays and Thursdays. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, Geoff Mosher is with me today for another edition of Football at 4. The Eagles back in action as the Birds taking flight over at the NovaCare complex. We know the start of training camp July the 26th, so we saw the Eagles on the field today. It's good to, I guess this is it, right? This is the final couple days before they pack it in for good, right?
Yeah, today is, I guess, their last camp practice, and then they're gone after tomorrow. So it's going to be quite a while. A lot of time in between. And I think the word action today is a pretty liberal use of the word based on what I saw for about an hour and 10 minutes.
All right, so let's go there. What was going on up there today? What were some of the things that you were able to kind of watch and kind of take in up at NovaCare this afternoon?
So the practice started about 10 to 1 and ended right around 2:05. But I would say there was nothing close to like a 7-on-7 or something that we would ordinarily be excited about until about 10 minutes to 2. So I would tell you there were probably 10 to 15 minutes and I'm probably being generous there, of 7-on-7s. The rest was warm-ups, special teams drills, individual position stuff. So, for example, I happen to be standing near the wide receivers. And, oh, by the way, there were a ton of people not there that you would hope to see. No A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith. I don't think Dallas Goedert was there. Jalen Reagor wasn't there. Lane Johnson wasn't there. Didn't see Nakobe Dean. I don't think I saw Jordan Davis. I mean, there's just – I don't understand what's going on, like how this passes for practice anymore, but I guess I'm starting to have my first get off my lawn moments covering this team. So, yeah, I was watching a couple of receivers do drill. They were doing different types of drills, like comeback drills and, things using pads and things like getting around blockers. But it was just that the wide receiver group consisted mainly of, I guess, Quez Watkins, Zach Pascal, John Hightower, Greg Ward, and then a couple of the, the Britton Covey guy and some guys you've never heard of before.
Right. So you're at the point where you're like, what are they even doing out here?
Yeah, that's fair. That is absolutely fair. And the funny thing is, like, right before they go to 7-on-7s, 45, 55 minutes later, after the start of practice, Sirianni calls the team together. They're all standing in a circle. And it's hard to hear him. It was some kind of competitive game that he had them playing, right? That the 7-on-7s were, I guess, maybe a point system or whatever. So it almost made it seem like there was some drama building. He's got the whole team in a circle. You hear him say something, Jalen Hurts this, something but that. So he was dividing teams out or whatever he was doing. And then they broke for the 7-on-7s, and it was literally like normal 7-on-7. I mean, I'm sure that they felt it was competitive. But, compared to what I'm used to, certainly not anything different.
So what are some of the things that you were already used to? Like, what was one of these OTAs generally like as opposed to what you're seeing?
Yeah, you get there's about 10 minutes of warm-ups generally, right? You might see some special teams work, the punt return, the kick return that they were doing, the coverage units, things like that. Then you divide into your position groups, which, again, they did all this, but they just did it for so long. What I didn't see was wide receivers versus corners, right? Offensive linemen versus defensive linemen. Other, like, more competitive type drills that you would see in training. I mean, you would see those one-on-ones between receivers and corners for 15, 20 minutes, right? You would see the one-on-ones between the linemen and the offensive and defensive linemen, and they haven't been doing that, or at least they didn't do that today. And then if you're going to have 7-on-7s, which they did, missing half your team, like no A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert was there, so no A.J. Brown, no Devontae Smith, no Jalen Reagor, no, I don't think Bradbury was there. I saw Slay. It's different. I don't know what to tell you. I got a lot of Carey Vincent versus some guy whose last name is Wheatfield, I think. I'm not lying. There's a receiver there named somebody Wheatfield.
I guess asking if the most important guy was there is Jalen Hurts. Was he there? And is he a guy that, you zoned in on with the lack of activity? But, hey, there's Jalen Hurts. I want to check him out.
Yeah, he was there. I watched him throw 5 or 6 passes. Looked pretty decent. He had one of them across the middle that was to Covey. Britton Covey, the unrestricted free agent guy. Covey kind of got banged up a little. I don't want to say hit hard, but there was contact, so he didn't make the catch. The ball went in the air, and Davion Taylor picked it off and started to run it back. That was probably the most exciting thing to happen. I left like 5 minutes before the official ending, so maybe something happened after that, but that was about it. Yeah, on the first snap, Mike, this was what caught my attention. First snap of 7-on-7s, Jalen Hurts takes the snap, looking at the field, nobody really open. And why would there be when somebody Wheatfield and somebody,
well,
all these guys I never heard of.
Because I did see somebody tweet that James Bradbury got beat on a play today, so he had to have been out there.
Oh, maybe he was there. Okay, it's perhaps. Listen, it's hard to keep track of every single person there.
Fair.
But so on the first snap, he takes the ball, no one's really open, so he rolls to his right to complete a pass along the right sideline, which is fine in itself. But my thought process is it's 7-on-7. There's no defensive lineman. There's no pass rush. You can literally stand in the pocket for 35 seconds if you want to and just wait for somebody to shake and get open and complete a pass there. So I think, like, if you're Jalen Hurts and you know that you're trying to work more on staying in the pocket, not leaving why would you even be tempted to roll to your right to complete a pass instead of just staying in the pocket every single time? No one's going to hit you. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I also don't know what the play call was and what the design of the route was. It stuck out to me that when you have all the time in the world and no one rushing you, and you know that that's what, something that you should work on, you should just do everything you can to stay there, even if it takes 30 seconds.
Right. Because just to clear up, I did see a tweet from Brandon Lee Galton who says Qued Watkins roasted James Bradbury for another deep touchdown throw by Hurts. The tweet before that was Hurts deep bomb touchdown to John Hightower, who's had a good practice. Anthony Harris and Avonte Maddox trailed the coverage. Hightower celebrates, yada, yada. But
nice.
Hurts
must have happened after I walked
with
out.
a couple of deep throws. But the theme of this afterwards, and I guess Sirianni had spoken recently here, Dallas Goedert saying Hurts is definitely getting the ball out faster, making quicker decisions. And Sirianni also said that he has acknowledged that the ball is definitely coming out quicker from Jalen Hurts.
Well, that's a good thing, and it should. It's your second full year in that offense. And, again, I would have liked to have seen his receivers were going to be with him there, but that's not my call. So,
A.J. Brown, you would think, hey, I just got traded here. My buddy's at practice. Maybe I'll show up. This isn't but I don't want to make this like he's going out getting sconces, and that's why he's not there.
I'm certainly not coming down on the players. It's not, I'd be shocked if it wasn't that they were told, this is your day off, or this is your maintenance day, or this is your day to work with the weight staff, whatever it is. But it's just really shocking to me how much things have changed for the Eagles. So sometimes you say, well, this is no contact at training camp is absolutely a league-wide thing. There's no question about it. You see it very, all over the league. But as far as I know, the Eagles and Bengals are the only teams in the NFL that are taking such few OTA days that are allotted to them. You're allotted X number, and the Eagles have said, and the Bengals have said, no thanks, we're just going to do fewer days, right? And then get the guys out of here sooner. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, you know how long I've been doing in this business, Mike. Same thing with you. I bet you have never come across a coach at any level, right? Any sport, any level, who said, I would rather have less time to work with my team. It's just, and I'm not, I know this sounds critical. I'm not. I'm basically saying this is culture shock for someone who's covered the league as long as I have on how
right, because it's like if the league
is
giving you an opportunity to be out there, most of these coaches are taking it.
There was a team that just got banged again. I forget who it was. It's usually the Ravens, but I don't think it was done. For violating, I think it was the Bears who violated the rules of practice. I think they were over practicing, which I don't want to say makes sense, but they have a whole new coaching staff, right? So you get why some of those teams are trying to bend the rules a little bit. The Eagles, it's not like this coaching staff is 10 years in with 3 Super Bowls either. So I I'm sure it's all sports science related and sports science driven, and that's fine. Analytics may play a role in it too. I'm just so unaccustomed to it. And there is a part of me that says, how can you, for what you are right now as an organization, how can you turn down the opportunity to have practice time? It's surprising to me.
I would agree with that. One of the things that seems to have come up today is Isaac Seumalo, who did speak, coming off the Liz Frank. He said he's ahead of schedule there, but kind of admitted that has been a little bit of adjustment to go to right guard, but did acknowledge that he's kind of lost that left guard spot, which we all knew.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? So
almost acknowledged that he deserved to lose the left guard spot because he said Dickerson was so good.
Yeah, Dickerson was pretty good. And the fact is he's younger, he's a higher draft pick, the potential to be even better. So, and Seumalo, you can say it's not, you should never lose your job to injury. We all know that happens anyway, but it's not just one injury. Seumalo has had a little bit of difficulty staying healthy now for 2 years, to the point where you look at the contract that he signed. It's not exorbitant, but it's still starting guard caliber, and here he is fighting for a starting guard spot. So it'll be really interesting to see how that shakes out. And that's not an easy injury to come back from for anybody that Liz Frank. It's a painful injury. And
said he had 2 surgeries.
And 2 surgeries. So there was a time where the sports hernia surgery was really difficult to come back from, and a lot of guys would have to have that redone as well. And there are some guys whose careers were just never the same after that.
Yeah,
so we'll have to see
he said that getting 2 surgeries is normal. It's one to put metal in your foot, and then the other one to get it out of your foot. So that it is a normal to get 2 surgeries there. By the way,
but that just goes to show you the process of it. It's not an easy process to come back from.
I guess Sirianni gave him off tomorrow. He's not even using the last day of OTAs tomorrow. He said, we're not using it. They get the day off. So I guess today's it.
I guess that's it. Yeah, it's weird because I had heard that there would be something tomorrow, but then it wasn't like a certainty, and I guess now there isn't. So it came and went that fast.
Yeah, you're right. I do want to get your thoughts because Adam and I had talked about this a little bit yesterday, but Sirianni, because this was a discussion under Doug Peterson about him calling the plays. And earlier in Peterson's career, 16, 17, obviously changed a little bit, but the first year there was a lot of, maybe he's got too much on his plate, that whole dynamic of the head coach calling plays. Sirianni, we found out, wasn't calling the plays. Sirianni expanded on that today and said he wanted to free up for other in-game head coaching duties. And I got to give him a lot of credit for that. Like to say, there's too much on my plate, man, and I'm not doing our team I'm doing our team a disservice here. I'm going to let this guy call the plays.
Yeah, and it's yes, that is true. He did, but it's not like he was completely removed from the process either. It's, I believe he had like veto power, and he knew the plays that were getting called in. So it's not like he was just so far removed from the play calling that he'd be after the game, hey, Shane, I'm surprised you called this or that. I mean, he was knowledgeable of what plays were called at the time, so he's pretty invested in it. But it is good on his part that he recognized the need to be more of the CEO at a time where the Eagles were really struggling, needed more leadership. Let's remember, he did not call plays as the Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator, so he clearly wasn't hired by Jeffrey Lurie because he was considered a mastermind play caller. Not that he wasn't considered a good, it's just that he didn't have a resume of it. So he obviously got through to Jeffrey Lurie as a CEO type of head coach. So it was probably smart of him to then be that way when the team really was at its worst point.
Mm-hmm. All right, OTAs looks like are done, unfortunately.
Isn't it crazy? Like, for you as a sports talker, you have to remember days where, like, you would have, whether it's me or other writers on, call in, like, what'd you see at OTA? Day after day after day, you had people charting quarterback throws, right? And you had people, really getting excited about the defensive end versus the offensive tackle one-on-one. Like, there's none of that. There's zero content out of these things now. I mean, even when the media is invited, there's nothing to really write about.
Right. I never remember where they've just didn't utilize the time at all.
Yeah.
And then had a day tomorrow scheduled and said, according to Jeff McLean's tweet, it said, Sirianni said wide receiver coach Aaron Moorhead caught the second of 2 punts and gave the team the day off tomorrow. It's almost like, hey, if you make these free throws, practice is over. If you catch these 2 punts, no practice tomorrow.
Yeah, usually that's a player who's on shaky state. I don't know what that means for Aaron Moorhead, though. He's got to be the one to field the punt. That's kind of funny.
Right. So the moral of today, I guess Jalen Hurts connected on a couple 40-yard passes for touchdowns.
Yep.
With guys he might – well, Quez Watkins, I guess. John Hightower's interesting. He was the guy who got more time than Watkins as a rookie, and then Watkins kind of usurped him last year.
Yeah, and then if you remember, Hightower was not among the first wave of futures contract signings, right? After the season was over, they signed a bunch of guys to futures contracts, some other wide receivers, but not John Hightower. So it was like, oh, are they finally, washing the hands? And then a few days later, they wound up, or maybe a week later, they did re-sign him to a futures contract, and here he is again.
Real quick, I did get this little nugget today that Gardner Minshew threw an interception. Davion Taylor with the pick.
That's the one I'm sorry, that wasn't hurt. That was the one that was over the middle to Britton Covey. He got bumped. The ball went in the air, and Davion Taylor snagged it out of the air and ran
White
it back.
batted it up in the air,
Yep.
and Davion Taylor was there.
Yeah, that was the excitement. And then I guess when I left, a couple of bombs from Jalen Hurts, and that was it. End of practice.
There you go. That's it. There you go. Period, point blank.
Thank God, by the way, I would think for you especially, but I just remembered years where when the Sixers were going through their process and the Phillies had 2 or 3 or 4 years removed from trading the big three, that Eagles OTAs was the savior in this city for just something to be excited about or something to hear about, read about. Oh, Jordan Matthews, he's wearing 81, he's catching all these passes, and
Right.
Now it's like, thank God the Phillies and Sixers are at least providing some content. Even the Flyers need a head coach, so that gives you a little content.
Hey, listen, I hosted 4-hour shows through a pandemic with no sports.
I do remember those days too.
I feel like I can handle myself okay here, all right?
You can. But I bet you had Eagles those days to talk. If not, you made it work.
Jeez, I don't even remember where. Those days are foggy memories at this point. I don't even know what the hell we were talking about at that point.
I'm with you.
We did do the NBA Jam rosters. We're on those teams.
The Jazz were the best, right? With Stockton and Malone. They were the best.
We did something like 5 process Sixers a day. Like we were trying to figure that out. Yeah. The process was such a great time in sports. I mean, actually, what did I have yesterday? I threw this down because we were talking about the whole Iverson thing came up the other day about being the iconic play, and I said it's the Brandon Graham strip sack. It's not even a debate for me. I mean, that's the most iconic play. It's the most important play in the history of the city. Every sport.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. Point blank. But we were talking about a Eagles. I think this was Adam Kaplan yesterday with us about an Eagles 30 for 30. Mm-hmm. What the heck? What were we talking about? I can't remember. But it was something that came up about the. Oh, he said that Ertz, I guess, told him that the Philly play was supposed to be a running play originally. And I had never heard that before.
I don't think I'd heard that one either.
He said it was supposed to be a running play, and then that's when Foles said, hey, you want to do Philly? And he said, yeah, sure, why not?
It's unbelievable.
Right? All right, well, OTAs are done.
Yeah, and, real quick, I know you're trying to move on, but, OTAs were always cool for us because, I mean, the draft picks, Rube Frank and I, when we were at CSN, we would make up Sports Center style nicknames for guys like Rashad Barksdale, right? We would say Rashad last train to Barksdale, and all the stuff that they used to do back on Sports Center in the days, and it was just fun. There were always good stories too to write about some of the guys who are just fringe players trying to make it on the team, and then you'd have your Greg Salas's, your guys were like, oh, they're ripping it up at OTAs. I'm really looking forward to seeing them.
We had years. Well, we had Mr. Lehigh for years. Like, who would be that guy? Paul Turner, Hank Baskett.
Yep.
We're
Lorenzo Booker.
Yeah. I said I used to when I did my internship up in Philly, I had to set the broadcast up at Lehigh.
Right.
That was like
Right.
part of my job, drive to Lehigh and set up the morning show broadcast. And I'm like, man, those were the days when you drive all the way out to Lehigh to go watch the team practice.
Tell me about it. Twice in a day they would practice.
That's right. They had the two-a-days.
Now they don't even do anything, and then they would hit. And those guys were spoiled because the guys before them, the Mike Quicks and the Carmichaels, would always be like, we had 7 preseason games. We had 3 months of training camp basically.
Jeez,
so I
think
mean,
about
it's I don't know what it's going to look like 10 years from now. It's going to be crazy.
Right. All right. Well, Geoff
All right,
Mosher,
brother.
InsideTheBirds.com. The Inside the Birds podcast tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. They'll talk about no OTAs.
Probably.
All right, man. See ya.
See ya.
All right, there's Geoff Mosher, football at 4. Tomorrow, Andrew DeCecco, we continue our look this offseason at all of the divisions, and we will be having the AFC North tomorrow.